66 million years ago, Earth was a greenhouse kingdom. It was the planet of the Titans, ruled by the most successful animals in history. The non-avian dinosaurs. But in the skies above, a 6-mile-wide rock, traveling 40,000 miles per hour, was closing its final distance. An executioner was moments from impact. In the chaos to come, 75% of all species would be annihilated. Yet, lurking in the rivers, a seemingly ancient design, a creature that lived alongside the dinosaurs, would barely even notice. The world they inhabited is almost alien to us. This was the very end of the Late Cretaceous, the Maastrichtian Age. The air was warmer, thick with humidity, and much more oxygen than today. Vast forests of conifers and new flowering plants stretched across the continents. The masters were clear. On land, Tyrannosaurus rex was the apex predator. Herds of Triceratops and duck-billed Edmontosaurus browsed the plains. This was their planet, a dynasty built over 160 million years of dominance. But the land was only half of the empire. If you looked to the rivers, the deltas, and the vast inland seas, you would find another dynasty. The crocodilomorphs. This was a group far more diverse than what we see today. It included the ancestors of modern alligators and crocodiles. Yes. But it also included terrifying giants. Creatures like Dinosuchus, a 35-foot monster that hunted dinosaurs at the water's edge. There were land-dwelling crocodiles that ran on long legs. There were even fully marine forms, the Thalattosuchians, chasing prey in the open ocean. For millions of years, these two great empires, dinosaurs on land, crocodilians in the water, existed in a tense, shared balance. They were both survivors, honed by eons of evolution. But they were about to face a test that evolution could not prepare for. A test from outside the world itself. Then, in a single, silent moment, 160 million years of history ended. It hit the shallow sea of the Yucatan Peninsula with unimaginable force. The energy released was more than 1 billion times that of the Hiroshima bomb. In 1 second, a 110-mile wide, 20-mile deep crater was blasted into the Earth's crust. The sky turned red. Trillions of tons of superheated rock and debris were ejected back into space. As they fell back to Earth, they burned up on re-entry. The entire atmosphere became a global broiler. The surface temperature instantly flash-cooked any animal left in the open. This was the first filter of the extinction, a global, searing thermal pulse. Any creature that could not find shelter underground or underwater was incinerated in minutes. The impact triggered earthquakes so powerful they shook the entire planet. It sent a mega tsunami, a wall of water miles high, racing across the oceans. It slammed into the coastlines of continents thousands of miles away. But the real killer wasn't the blast, or the heat, or the water. It was the air itself. The sky went black. The impact vaporized vast deposits of sulfur-rich rock from the seabed. This sulfur, along with soot from the global fires, was thrown into the stratosphere. It created a thick, dark shroud that enveloped the entire planet. The sun vanished, plunging the Earth into a relentless, freezing darkness. This was the impact winter. Temperatures plummeted by as much as 25 degrees Celsius or 45 degrees Fahrenheit. It was dark and it was cold for years. And in that darkness, the very foundation of life collapsed. The plants died first. Without sunlight, photosynthesis stopped. The great forests, the ferns, the plains of flowering plants, they withered and died. The phytoplankton in the ocean, the base of the marine food web, were extinguished. With the plants gone, the herbivores, the triceratops, the Edmontosaurus starved. And when the herbivores died, the great carnivores, the T-Rex and its kin, had nothing left to hunt. Their massive size, once a symbol of dominance, was now a fatal liability. Their warm-blooded, high-energy bodies needed constant, massive amounts of fuel. In this new world, there was no fuel left. The sky was also poisoned. That sulfur in the atmosphere, mixed with water, it began to rain, not water, but a searing, dilute sulfuric acid. This acid rain poisoned the rivers, the lakes, and the surface of the ocean. The KPG extinction was not a single event. It was a cascading, systematic failure of the entire global ecosystem. It was a test that favored not the strong, or the smart, or the powerful. It was a test that favored, above all else, the resilient. And as the dinosaurs starved and froze in the suffocating dark, something was waiting patiently in the poisoned, muddy water. The planet was silent. The great forests were now just graveyards of charred, skeletal trees. The air was cold, toxic, and thin. The sun, a pale ghost behind a veil of sulfuric smog, offered no warmth. The bodies of the titans, the T-Rex and Triceratops, were rotting in the freezing mud. This was the New World, a planet of decay, ruled by fungi and fallout. In this global cemetery, almost nothing with a high-energy lifestyle survived. But in the murky, poisoned rivers, something was stirring. Hidden in the silt, shielded from the acid rain, was the creature that evolution had, by sheer accident, perfectly prepared. So how did they do it? While the dinosaurs were active, warm-blooded animals, needing a constant furnace of food to fuel their fires. Crocodiles were ectotherms. They are cold-blooded, relying entirely on the outside environment for heat. In a freezing world, this sounds like a fatal flaw. Instead, it was their single greatest asset, an off switch for life. Their internal engine was, by default, set to idle.
A faint, slow exhale.
As the world froze, they didn't need to fight it. They could simply sink into the mud, enter a state of torpor. A profound metabolic shutdown, slowing their heart to just a few beats per minute. A dinosaur needed to eat constantly, every single day. A crocodile could survive on one large meal for months, perhaps, scientists believe, for over a year. They could simply wait. They could wait out the years of darkness and cold. Then, there was their larder. The green food web, based on sunlight and living plants, was obliterated. But the brown food web, based on decay, was suddenly booming. The world was now one giant, rotting carcass. And crocodiles are the opposite of picky eaters. They are the ultimate generalist scavengers. They would have eaten anything: drowned insects, dead fish, rotting ferns, and, most importantly, the decomposing bodies of the very dinosaurs that once ruled them. The extinction of the dinosaurs provided the very feast that allowed the crocodiles to survive them. Their habitat was also a crucial shield. The freshwater river and lake systems, while acidified, acted as a buffer. They were a refuge from the initial searing heat blast and the worst of the toxic air. While the giant marine crocodiles, the monsters of the open ocean, were wiped out, these freshwater survivors clung to life in the sheltered, muddy waterways. A slow metabolism, a strong stomach, and a safe house. It was a simple, brutally effective survival toolkit. For years, perhaps decades, the world remained a cold, toxic twilight. But slowly, painstakingly, the Earth began to heal. The atmospheric veil of sulfur and soot finally began to clear. Weak, watery sunlight touched the surface for the first time in an age. And as the light returned, the survivors of the long night began to stir. From the silt beds and muddy banks, the ancestors of modern crocodilians emerged. They found a world unmade, a planet scrubbed clean of its former masters. The rivers were silent, the lands were empty. The tyrannosaurs were gone, the great marine mosasaurs were gone. Even their own giant, specialized cousins, like Dinosaurs, had been filtered out. But the generalists remained. They were, for a time, the only large predators left on Earth. They had endured the fire, the cold, the dark, and the poison. Now, they inherited a planet of boundless opportunity. In the millions of years that followed, they did what life always does. They diversified, they adapted, they thrived. They spread across the globe, refilling the niches the extinction had violently cleared. Some even returned to the land, while others grew to monstrous sizes, battling the new giant mammals that had risen to replace the dinosaurs. The KPG extinction didn't just spare the crocodiles, it cemented their dynasty. Today, 66 million years later, they remain. They are virtually unchanged, a perfect design, a living link to the age of titans. When you look at an alligator in a swamp, or a crocodile waiting patiently by a riverbank, you are looking at the ultimate survivor. They are a profound testament to the fact that in a mass extinction, all the rules change. Survival is not always about being the strongest, the fastest, or the most intelligent. Sometimes, it's about a slow metabolism. Sometimes, it's about being able to eat the scraps from the table of a fallen world. And sometimes, it's simply about having the patience to wait for the sun to rise again. If you would like to join us on our next expedition into Earth's darkest hours in search of the light of life, consider joining our Researchers Guild by subscribing to the channel and let us know in the comments, what other living fossils do you think hold the secrets to surviving an apocalypse?